Good morning, Flosstube. My name is Laura, and I'd like to welcome you to Stitching by the Shore, my channel all about cross stitch with a little bit of paper crafting thrown in too. If you are new, I'd like to say welcome. Thank you so much for pressing play. I hope you like what you see. Maybe hit like and subscribe, and I would love to know more about what you like to stitch. And if you're a returning stitching friend, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you taking the time to also press play and to come hang out with me while we talk about cross stitch. So thank you. Alrighty, so I have 14 projects to show you. I would have had 15 with my full coverage, but I decided this was enough because it was a Riff off weekend. So we'll talk about that in a minute. And this way you'll get to see even more progress on my full coverage. I'm going to do it for one more week through the end of the month. I'm really enjoying it. And then we'll switch off to another piece. So stay tuned for that one. Before I do show you all of my stitching from this week, I do want to say that I did have a very teeny tiny, I think it was 5 minutes, it came in just at 5 minutes, Flosstube extra that talked about the artist trading card swap for autumn. So if you are intrigued, have wanted to do it, have always done it, whatever it is, it's a very quick video. It gives you the theme, the dates, and then if you're new, we'll direct you to other videos where you can learn some more information about what artist trading cards are and what we do here when we swap. So so that's that. It's there if you want it, and I'm trying to think out of the box. So many of you are so creative with the prompts, and right away some literal ones came to my head, so I'm still thinking about it, but we'll see. Okay, so let's get going with our stitching. The first thing I'm going to start off with is the Riff off stitching. Oh, wait a minute, let me fix this because it's just hitting. There we go. I don't want to be hitting you at all. I think that'll work. Nothing will hit the camera now. I am snuffly. This time of the year, the last third of August is when the fall sniffles start for me for allergies. Everything starts to kick up, and I literally can't breathe through my nose right now. So it was an interesting night last night trying to breathe and sleep, but hey, you know, that happens. But I will be particularly more nasally sounding, I think, than I normally am. So Riff Off, what is Riff Off? It is a challenge that is part of the Whip Warriors challenge group. So if you are new, I like to do challenge games for two reasons. One, I think it's fun to kind of challenge, and I have lots of projects, so it's easy enough to find out. And two, because I have a fun challenge book that I like to decorate. So there's a satisfaction in making this look kind of colorful and bright and all of that as well. So it's a two-parter for me. Whip Warriors is a participation required group, so you do have to participate, show pictures. You get certain credits called threads throughout the year, and that's how you are part of the group. They are closed at the moment. They open at the end of November for about 6 weeks-ish. And that gives you a chance to join. They do some practice events in December, so you can see, oh, this is awesome, I love it, or oh, this is not for me. And even if you stay joined in the next year, if life happens, you just say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to participate. And they're like, no problem, try again next year if you'd like. So there's several different people that you will hear talk about Whip Warriors, and that's what that is. This week, weekend, one of the challenges, which is probably my all-time favorite, is called the Riff Off. So here's my book right here. These are the Riff Off pieces. So what you have to do, you choose about 100 to 200 stitches per project that you do. I chose between 150 and 200. I tried to keep it on the, closer to the 200, so my projects would get some work. And it starts with a theme. You have to find a project that would match that theme somehow or other, and then each project must somehow or other connect however you want, but you cannot repeat connections at any point. So you do have to have separate connections. You could go back to projects, I believe. I have so many that I usually just do all different projects, so that way it gets more work on all of my projects. But I believe if you don't have, but 2-3 projects, you could still do it, and you just have to keep finding connections for it. So let's get started. The theme was, I was about to say what my project is. The theme was rainbow. Now, I took that to mean a project that would have a rainbow of colors. And I chose, because I think it pretty much has all the colors in the rainbow, butterflies too. So this is a project that it's a stitch by Durene Jones. She actually has 3 of these in the series. And then you choose, you pick and choose. You buy each one separately. I do have all 3. I think when she had a sale, she sometimes has pretty good sales. So I keep a watch on Etsy. I did buy all 3. We'll see if I ever get to all of them. But they're very pretty, all different colors. And this is the one I am doing and where it is. This is 18 count white aida. It is full coverage, so I'm doing 2 strands over 1 full cross. Now it is, if you wanted a full coverage, but you really didn't want a giant one, I mean, this is my fabric, and I give myself, you can see the margins there. Sometimes on other projects, I seem to give much tighter margins, but full coverage-ish, I go 2.5 to 3. So it's probably gonna go to about there. So you can see it's not a huge project. I can't remember how many stitches it is. I was able to get this into Pattern Keeper, so I am using it that way. If you don't have a digital device, I think you'd be fine though, because there are lots of blocks of color. I know you would. I would suggest a working copy. I know for myself, my brain could never handle this if I didn't mark stitches off if I was doing it with paper. But then I have to use a working copy for everything, so take that with a grain of salt. And you have some great options. I'm stitching this with a bunch of friends. Karen the Stitching Owl, Karen Twitchy Stitcher, Amy Renewing Stitches, Mary from Mary Stitching Corner, and Rachel Q are all stitching this, and everybody's doing it a little bit differently. You can take out these corners and have it more of a circular piece if you'd like. Stitching Owl, of course, Karen, in her creativity, is doing something different from all of us. So I'm going to tell you to go watch Karen so you can find out what it is. I'm not going to ruin the surprise if you've never watched her before. And I think Mary and I are doing full for sure. So you've got all sorts of options with this as well, and you can make it a little bit smaller if you wanted to take some of them out and maybe do like a hoop finish. Lots of different options. It's all DMC, and it is all just wonderful, lovely, bright, beautiful colors. No backstitch, which I know, Durene Jones has lots of patterns that really have a lot of backstitch or a good amount to really make it shine, and this one has none. It's all full crosses. So that's where it is. I think we used a hashtag stitch all the butterflies. So if you'd like to join us, and if you're doing one of the other ones, I'd love to see, because I'd really love to see them stitched up. And we'll see how long this takes me. And depending on how beautiful yours, I know yours will be beautiful, whichever one you show me, but whether or not I'd be super tempted to start another one, I might wait. Sometimes with some of these bigger projects that have kind of companions, I give myself a little bit of a break and before I jump back in again, because sometimes, it's just a little bit, and you need that little kind of step back from it. All right, so that was my butterflies 2 pattern. So then I took that pattern and I said, okay, my connection is butterflies. And I picked out Blue Rhapsody, which I think you've seen recently. This is from Rosewood Manor. There was a very pretty Rosewood Manor, I think, that I saw from Marketplace. I would like to buy well, I guess pre-orders are over now. Oops. I was waiting till the very last minute so I could see everything. Well, there was one from Rosewood Manor that will now just go on to my wish list. I wasn't sure if I was going to buy it pre-order or wait, but it's going to wait now. Anyway, I started this a couple years ago. I believe, I looked in my book. I didn't write it down in any notes anywhere, but I believe it was 2023 of December for Beth the Steadfast Stitcher's birthday stitch. And she was inviting all of us to stitch Rosewood Manor pieces with her. And so this is the one that I chose. It's my very first Rosewood Manor. Now it is charted in Weeks Dye Works, and I did change it to DMCs. I chose the same color palette, as you can see, and just chose a blue, 2 different blues, a light and a dark, that I thought really went well together, and I really like them. So that's where it is right there. This is 18 count Darling David from Those Missing Stitches, And it is a very lovely, at least an 18 count. I always say this, I never know what it's going to look like in other counts or types of fabric, but 18 Aida, it comes out to be this beautiful neutral that so far I have not had anything not look good on it. It is just one of those that complements a lot of different color schemes. And as you know, I really do like to try to get the fabric and the floss to be this kind of connection between them and have one show off the other and so on and so forth. So I'm always looking for great pairings, and this Darling David is a lovely one. And what Lynn does, Lynn has an Etsy shop, it's linked down below. She does rotate some of her pieces, although I think if you had a color that you really, really wanted, ask her. I mean, she's very nice. It's possible she could certainly help you out and dye it off of the time frame. But Darling David is actually a year-long piece that's always available in her shop. So, and I just love her Aida. If you are an Aida stitcher, it is a really lovely stitch. So that's where I am right here. I don't believe I did anything on this side. So let's just fold it over here. And I did actually quite a bit like lettery stuff. If you can see some of the letters, there's the outline and then you fill in some of the spaces, not all of them. Clearly the beat, nope, it doesn't. I thought maybe I missed that, but nope, that's the original. Some of the spaces are open and then some are filled in with that darker blue. And then I also did some here. So remember, I was doing about approximately 200 stitches per piece. So when you start adding all of that up, you know how 200 stitches sounds like a lot, and then it's this little teeny tiny square sometimes. So that's what I got with that one. I'm trying to think, did we do any? I mean, we were in and out last weekend. So Riff Off generally goes in my time zone because it's you know, it's a worldwide kind of group. So people are all over the world. In my time zone, it's Tuesdays at 4. I'm in the Eastern US zone. And it ends, I believe, Tuesday at 4. So you have about approximately 5 days because they want to give people both weekend and weekday, depending on what your schedule is and life is. And I don't usually ever start it on Thursdays. I usually wait till Fridays to start it. And I think Friday last week's video took a long time to upload. And then I think I went somewhere Friday afternoon. So yeah, because I didn't have my phone, I can't upload and take my phone out of the house. So I started a little bit Friday night and I went through Monday at one point, and then I kind of cut it off. I don't really care to, like, it doesn't matter to me. I don't need to be the person that has the most projects. You know, like some people could touch 20, 25 projects in that 5-day period with 1 to 200 stitches. And that doesn't have to be me. I just like to participate and have fun with it. So I think I ended up with 10 during the actual, well, I have it right here. Yes, 10. All right. So Blue Rhapsody has letters on it. So that was my connection to this next piece, and this next piece is Sampler Seasons Autumn, and it is from Blueberry Ridge. I can absolutely tell you, and I think I'm going to wait and buy it as a digital, but I absolutely loved the Thanksgiving offering that came out at Marketplace from Blueberry Ridge. So that will be a definite stitch in my future. It looked so much fun, and I love the little turkey. So this one here, I started with Mary of Mary Stitching Corner, and Mary got hers finished. It looks absolutely gorgeous, as Mary's stitches do. And I am a little bit slower, but that's okay. It's going to happen when it happens, and here we are. So this is an 18 count. It's called Dragon's Lair from Bestitchme. You knew when Bestitchme had a box that had different dragon stuff, I had to get it because I love my dragons. And I ended up using, so my way of using, if you're new, for variegated flosses is I like to just pick colors I like and then use them in places. So when a chart has called for variegateds, I don't generally it would be by accident if I actually used it or had it or whatever. I just kind of pick and choose as I go. This is, I had a hank of Fire Lily from Stitchy Stuff Co. And I just thought it was so pretty, and what a great fall color. I love the fall burnt orangey sort of colors. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to do that. And then the original, where is it, is on a brown, and I was inspired by that. This is probably a little bit darker. And yes, it is variegated, but you are seeing heavier variegation in the camera than you are in person, than you would be if you were in person. And remember, once I have this area stitched, and then it will be cut fairly tight, I would like to stitch all 4 seasons and put them in the scrapbook. If I can, I'd like to be a double 12 by 12 layout and have 2 seasons on each page, so that it would be one open layout, which is what I'm really hoping for, and keep it as a tight collection, just those 2 open face pages. So that's where I am. I'm trying to think if I did, because it depends on the lighting sometimes, how well I see. I do make a working copy, but how well I see the pattern. It's a little bit smaller for my eyes, but it's lovely. I still like it. I'm not complaining. It's just I have eyes that don't see it 100%. I know I did some of this pumpkin, but I think I was afraid I couldn't see. There's a lovely design in the middle, so I know I did. Oh, you know what I did? I did all those apples and started the basket as well. Now I am treating the variegated. I don't necessarily do the full variegated experience, right? I still generally do like to do a loop start. I can do the other starts, and sometimes I do if I want something that would be heavily variegated, but I prefer the really subtle variegation. So if I come up to this pumpkin, you can see it still has variegation. That's with a loop start. Sometimes I stitch every X. Sometimes I say, don't care. I'm just going to do the half X one way, half X the other way. Actually, ironically, the more, especially if it's a monochromatic color, if it was other colors, it would get muddied. But say this was a very extreme heavy orange to really light orange, I would actually prefer to loop start it, because I don't want that extreme of a variegation. Again, you can see there is variegation there without it being completely in your face. And with letters, I definitely like lighter variegation because I have trouble seeing words if they're heavily variegated. But I'm finding I like that experience. What was I stitching? I don't remember. And it definitely did have a good range of variegation in the floss. And I purposely did the loop start, and I really liked how it was coming out the way it was like that. So I don't treat it the same way. I mean, there's quote unquote rules, but then there don't have to be rules. And so I kind of break the rules a little bit, which is really funny. If you knew me, and I am a rule follower, but when it comes to my crafts, I'm very stubborn, and I want to just break the rules and do what I want. Maybe it is because I'm a rule follower. So I like with the crafts to just basically break free. Okay, so this next piece, we went from the letters to, which got me sampler season autumn, and then that has a house in it. If you can see, oops, I forgot to put that back. Let me just put that in the bag. So that has a house. So the next connection was a house, which was perfect because I wanted to do my whip into shape piece. And since I finished my first whip into shape piece, which was my oldest, I chose my second oldest piece to continue. And the beauty of this one is the houses have quite a bit, especially at the top, of block stitching. Down at the bottom where they have some fun stuff, there's a little bit more changing of colors. This is called Sawin and Salem. It is by Hemlock and Rye Stitchery. I am not stitching. Now, Julie does provide alternative words if you prefer to say Halloween in Salem, and you know, the charting part with the fence. I don't want any words. I love the look of the fence there. Isn't that pretty? So I thought, how pretty would that be all the way across? If I could figure out how to make, yeah, I probably won't, but if I could figure out how to make like a little gate, that would be kind of cool in the middle, and then just have fence from either side. So whip into shape, if you have not heard, although there's a lot of people who do Flosstube who are participating, and on Instagram you'll see lots, is the brainchild of Andrew, the runner stitcher. And Andrew was training for a marathon at the end of this month. And we support everything you're doing, Andrew, and this has been a fabulous challenge, so do not feel like you've disappointed anybody. If you watch Andrew's recent video, he had a little bit of a disappointment where he cannot run the marathon at the end of the month. However, I plan on continuing doing this stitching through the end of the month because it has been a fabulous challenge, and I'm super thankful that he has done all the work, both administrative as well as running, to participate in it. So this is where I am now with Sawin. And basically what I've done is Andrew logs the miles he's run each day. Well, he does it by day. And then I multiply times 10, which is what a lot of people do. There's other options too for participating. And that's how many stitches I do minimum. Like sometimes if I finish out a thread, I don't carry over those. Those are just bonus stitches. I am currently caught up through, actually, I don't know, let me see if I'm currently caught up through the 16th, right there, of August. And what's today? The 22nd. I've been doing it on the weekends. Now, when I had Stitch Rovia, it made sense to do it more as a chunk because there was a lot of color changes. And so trying to pull it out each day was a little much. I will work on this weekend. This is what I'm working on now. The first 2 houses are finished. So I'm on the 3rd house. I'll work on it this weekend, and then I will each day or every other day pull it out so that I will try to keep up with it. And then even though Andrew is not running the actual marathon, I will do the marathon stitches. Whether or not, I'll try to do them the day of, I think it was the 31st. I will still try to do them that day. So this is where I am. And this time you can see I've got some great kind of fill-in ideas. So I kept this open because I thought that's just, at this point, that would be mindless fill-in. I decided to do all the way across here for this first part of the house. So the top part of the house is just windows and house. So I've got, I think it's 2 more windows if I look at the picture. Yep. So I've got 2 more windows to do, and then that will all be just blue in the fill-in, and filling in the windows, as you can see, is super easy too. What I really like too is in all 3 of these, the doors have different looks to them. So this one, you know, is a different color size door with the pumpkins up top. This one's a bit more squat. The next one has a kind of a peak at the top of it. So it was really fun to see all the different ways and the different colored doors and all the fun stuff that Julie's done with this. So I will continue with this at least through the end of the month. And then who knows, there might be, I'm not doing it for another challenge that I'll talk about at a later piece that I'm doing this week. For the next foreseeable future. But who knows, there might be another long-term challenge that comes out and I will pull this one out for it because it would be really nice to get my now oldest piece, this is my oldest piece now, finished. I started this one, I believe it was May of 2021. Boy, wouldn't that be, well, no, there's no way, because if I was just doing the 3 houses without the fence, May of 2026 might be viable. But then to do the fence as well, I'm not 100% sure. This is 18 count old library marble from Dovestitch. So it's a fabric flare, it's a printed, it's white on the back. I just thought it was kind of fun, a little bit different. I could see this one too on a really cool, and it's very reminiscent of what the model stitched on. I could see this one on a very cool like gray too, like a spooky-ish gray. Okay, so that connection there, let me go back to my riff off section. There was a pumpkin in Sawin. So I chose a piece with a pumpkin, and we know there's lots of those that I have because every October, so are you looking at for your pumpkin stuff? I have a pumpkin birthday sal. I've done this. I'd have to look back at my notes. I don't know if I've started it in 2022, maybe 23. I don't remember. I'll go back and look. But for the month of October, because I'm an October baby, I invite you to stitch something that is pumpkin related, whether it has a pumpkin on it, doesn't have to be an orange pumpkin, or pumpkin colored floss or pumpkin colored fabric, or even a pumpkin spice latte. I don't, if you're stitching pumpkin spice lattes. You know, just something that's fun and just pumpkin related. This was started, I think 2 years ago. I started this on my birthday. And this is Autumn Still Life from Owl Forest Embroidery. Now the model is stitched with Owl Forest threads, which I did not get. I am using their DMC, although I am choosing different places to do my own variegated choices, and I did have to change some of their DMC suggestions. The thing about Owl Forest, everybody tells me, is that they're highly, highly variegated. So it's difficult sometimes to pick a DMC alternative because it can go from very dark to very light. And so there was at least one, if not two, that the choices I wasn't loving. So I did make some changes. This time around, I was really I'm thinking that this is a long thing of wheat. Well, I've made it that way if it's not now. And in the actual pattern, it's 2 different threads that you use, but I'm using a variegated thread. As you can see, I used it over here as well. And again, there's some variegation, but I am keeping it fairly light variegation so that it's not too extreme. And it is, let me pull it out for a second so I can see. This is the big thing of it, is Golden Chalice from Stitchy Stuff Co. And I'm really enjoying using that. And then I also used variegated in the leaf there. And I want to say that was oh, here it is, Classic Colorworks Fallen Leaves. And what I did was I just pulled out this very handy dandy bag, sandwich bag, of some different colors of oranges and this yellow and different shades. And so as I'm going, I'm picking and choosing. Like I would like to do the pumpkins in a variegated of some sort. Probably not that big flower. If you can see, this one I stitched with DMC, and I'll probably do the same one. This is 18 count Ocean Air from Fox and Rabbit. And I really do like it. It's the only Fox and Rabbit fabric I believe I have. And so I would like to finish this next time I stitch, and then I would like to, if possible, I'd like to kind of tackle this inner border. And then that way I can stitch anything on the outer edges or do some of the inside. Because right now I'm kind of stuck with some of the things that I can stitch off of. And I mean, that border is not that difficult. There's 2 different colors, the kind of reddish brown, as well as that kind of green, almost avocado-ish green. So goal would be here first and then there. On the 21st of every month, which is tomorrow actually, I like to pull out some of my pumpkin stitching to kind of have a little nod to my birthday month. So maybe we'll see. I have lots of pumpkin stitches, so it's always a challenge. I love this bag. Isn't that pretty? It's always a very big challenge to decide which ones I want to stitch. But this one may come out again, so you may see it next week. So that one there, that pattern had leaves. So I wanted to pick another pattern that had some leaves on it. And this probably wouldn't have been the one you would have thought of, but I had not stitched this in a little bit, so I wanted to pull it out. And this is the Snow White Tree from Tiny Modernist. And I think it's just so cute. I currently have Alice and Snow White on the go, and I've finished Wizard of Oz. Now, I did not have at the time any more of that Opal Blue Ice from To Die For that I adore. So I had to do this on a different color. And that's okay, because there are some lighter blues in there. And so I might have had to change a few of those. I don't know who this is. I don't know if this is To Die For or not, because I don't have any tag on it. But it is an 18 count opal. Can you see the sparkle? And it was an unknown fabric because I don't have a tag. It kind of feels like a To Die For though, so I wouldn't be surprised. Kimberly, I don't know. I'm giving you credit even if it's not. And To Die For is back hand dyeing if you are looking for some fantastic fabrics. I'm a huge fan. And her link is down below in the description box where I say some of my favorite fabrics. So that's where I am right here. Now, Tiny Modernist trees are fabulous, but they are very color change intensive. And remember, I was only doing 200 stitches. So I almost got so this is the woodsman, right? So I almost got his, I assume that's an axe. I finished up some of that. I did the entire apple. I did some of this leaf, and I believe I filled in one of the leaves. So I did some good chunk of stitching there. I would like to get what I was trying to do is to get some of this outer edge stuff so that then I can do this, and then I'll work my way down and get, with these, I like to do the structure with the pieces. I don't necessarily trust my counting to do all of the structure first. It would sure make my life easier, and then I could just pick and choose what I wanted to stitch, right? However, you know, there is the counting thing. And with the project, actually, it's the next project I have to show you, counting was difficult. 4 and 5 were very difficult numbers for me. So I wouldn't trust myself for a full piece, but it's coming along very nicely. I started this for Doris, Glitter Dove Fairies. I think it was a birthday stitch, right? Glitter Dove Fairies, she's on Instagram. Let me write down so that I can make sure I link her. And she has wonderful takes on colors and pieces, and I just love her stitching, and she's the nicest person ever. So that was when this one was started, and I will just keep plugging along. It took me a couple years to do Wizard of Oz. Now this one I bought as a digital, and so it went into Pattern Keeper like a dream. Alice is on paper, so that's a little bit harder to do. This one may go a tiny bit faster because it is digital. However, it is still a lot of color changes. So if you can see here, down at the bottom, there was a castle. So that was my connection for the next piece. I wanted to find another piece of the castle. And this is a big giant castle, so how perfect is that? This is Black Roses, and it is from Owl Forest Embroidery. I am stitching the roses, ironically, in a red floss that I've chosen, a variegated, and then everything else will be in black. And I have pretty much made the decision. I am ending it right here, and I'm not going to do this extra row of roses. I think this would be a nice little stopping point, and it's kind of like a little border at the end there. So the whole thing is pretty, but I think it would be a nice stopping point there. I started this as a New Year, New Start with Mary from Mary's Stitching Corner. And oh, you must go see Mary's. Mary is using this for the Whip into Shape project herself, and she has gotten so much accomplished. Mary, I think you're 50%, are you? Maybe? Possibly, or almost 50%. It is just phenomenal how beautiful hers looks. So this is where I am. And I tackled over here on the side of the castle. I decided I wanted to do some of this right here. This is actually a page break. Now I was able to put it into Pattern Keeper. However, I didn't do it correctly. I didn't line up the grids 100% the way. I've since learned how to do that. I could go to the effort of redoing it because you have to put the page size in and then fix the grids, and I didn't know about that part. So some of it is a little bit wonky, and it does add a few stitches here and there. So while this is in Pattern Keeper, I do still heavily rely on the paper. And this is a page break right here, so I did want to make sure I was okay there. This is, I think, like 4 pages, so you can see why I'm avoiding it. I couldn't count 4 versus 5, and this is 1, 2, 3. This looks like 4, and I had it over too many, and I had a whole bunch already stitched. So some of my stitching time did have to go to taking it all out and then restitching it. So not a ton, but you know, it's coming along. I'm using Anchor Black on this one. I like to me, Anchor Black is a tiny bit thicker than the DMC. However, it will be harder to get now, so we'll just work with what we have. I do also like DMC Floche, which would be 1-stranded, and I am doing a project where I'm mixing in and matching it with 2-stranded, and it looks okay, so that might be an option. This is 18 count Pomona from Under the Sea Fabrics. And when I saw this piece first, I got this Maleficent vibe from Disney. And so in my head, I had to do it in something purple. And I wanted it kind of like a smoky plum purple. And this was a fabric of the month at one point, and it was like, ooh, this is perfect. So this is what I'm going to use. And that's what that is. So let me look at my notes here. Black Roses has a woman on it. That was my connection to my next piece. And let me put this away and grab the next one. So I pulled out Forest Goddess, which most definitely has a woman highlighted on it. I am barely just starting on her. I have been trying to do all of the outer edge part just because that's less fun. I feel like the owl, I assume that's a wolf, and her are going to be so much more fun. And so I'm getting kind of that yucky, not yucky stuff, but the chore-like stuff out of the way a little bit. And I am definitely getting to the point where we are going to start her soon. And here we are. Actually, I can fold this a little bit more. So you can see it's actually pretty tall. And this is 18 count, but it's not super wide. That is the width. This is 18 count Crypt cloth from Lapin Loops. It's my very first Lapin loop stitch, and I have to say I'm quite enjoying it. And I really do like this color. I think this has a really nice vibe, this color. I might have to pick up some more Crypt cloth. I did, again, some of the not fun stuff of, I'm just filling in, there's leaves that go, and then these, see these little kind of, I don't know what they're supposed to be, but just little elements. I did a bunch of that, and then I said, I need to do something. And before I could do her, I had to do her crown. So I did get the crown, I believe, complete. So that's fun. The next time I pick it up, I will still do some more leaves because I will be good about that. I don't want to be stuck with just that at the end. And then, yay, I get to start some of her. So I'm super excited about that next fact. So in this piece right here, there is, I think, what's my connection? Yep, there is an owl. So that was the connection I can make. Oh, there's an owl. So Jen from, let me write down Jen here. Jen's fiber web is in, well, first she's going to do an owl wall, which I think is phenomenal. And if you watch her last video, she shows you the wall and what she has so far and different things. And it was so much fun. I enjoy stitching owls. I was gonna say I enjoy stitching walls. No, I enjoy stitching owls. So it's always fun to see that. She is doing for September. She did not have in her video a hashtag. I was gonna say somehow or other Flashdance was floating in my head. So wow. Apparently all of the I don't know if it's pollen or ragweed or what it is, but something has like definitely gotten to my brain. She doesn't have a hashtag yet, so hopefully maybe she will, but she's inviting all of us to stitch owls in September. And I am going to go through I know this next one because it is owl focused, but now I have that one as well. I'm going to go through all my projects and see what I have for owls, and I'm going to try to touch every one of them in September to support and stitch along with Jen. But this one, of course, is owl forward, right? This is You Got This from the Artsy Housewife. I believe she also has another one. Is it called Una Owl? I think that's Artsy Housewife as well. So there's some fun options there. I think this is so cute. I am doing a sort of variegation. I'm using variegated floss. I'm in this mug area. However, I chose my own, so it's not going to look the same. And I wanted something fabric-wise that just brought out the colors. And I'm really, really pleased with my choice. Look at that. Oh, I love it. This is, what is this? 18 count Modest May from Those Missing Stitches. And I concentrated on the mug. We live in a community here. I live in Delaware, and I do live in a kind of a community with the HOA and all that stuff kind of thing, because we built our house in 2020. And the community does have a pool. So during this event, so it must have been over the weekend, I think it was Sunday night, possibly. I said to Mo, we were kind of, Mo's my husband, if you're new. I said to him, let's just go down to the pool for a little bit. It was, just sit and just relax. It was a nice evening. And I brought this with me to stitch. I figured I'm only concentrating on this. And so that's what I did. We sat for a little while by the pool. So in real life, you can see a variegation. You can see it there too, but you can see how it's a little bit more subtle. This one's a little bit too much for me. I like it where you just see a little bit of an ebb and flow of color. And that was my concentration for, I did some down here and I started to carry this over. And then this is where I believe the handle starts up here and then goes down to right about here. So I wanted to get all of that in, and then the next part will be here through that. So this one will definitely come out in September. I don't know if it'll come out before then at this. You never know, right? I mean, I don't make a point of trying to touch all of my projects every month, 6 months, even every year. What happens, happens, and what flows, flows. So the very last piece of the connection, You've Got This, has flowers on it, and this piece has flowers. So we pulled out August's Poppy from Cottage Garden Samplings, and I am happy to say, yes, 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 I did get a finish. So August Poppy did get finished before the end of the month. Yay! So September, October, and July are the only pieces left in this year-long series. And I know you saying, well, okay, you're going to bring out July. No, I won't. I can tell you right now, because I know myself, if I'm going to bring out one this week, and I don't know if I will, because I have pumpkin stitching tomorrow, then the 24th and 25th, I try to pull out at least 1 or 2 Christmas stitching, plus some of the other plans. So it may not come out till September, but I will do September and October, and then I know myself, it'll be, actually, you know what? I can leave this out now. This is going to go in the drawer with all of the other completed ones. I'll put this in here, but I know myself, and I won't work on it until all the other ones are done. I've kind of written it as my least favorite right now, so it's been written off for a little while. And so, yay, I got a second finish, yay, this week as well. I didn't have much left of, this is called A Silent Expression of Art. It is designed by Kara Brown of the Elfin Forest, and it is in the Just Cross Stitch, was it spring or summer? Summer 2025 issue. So this current summer issue. I was stitching this, Karen from Stitching Owl, she stitched it, and Charlie, let me write down Charlie, from Stitching with Charlie, she also finished it. Both of them had totally different takes on it than I did. It's awesome. Go see, you can see, that's the beauty of being able to pick and choose what you want to do with things. You can make them so unique. I did not want all of these flowers floating around like this. I wanted to make it a little bit more rectangled off. I would say squared off, but it's technically a rectangle, right? So I did, part of the biggest problem was trying to decide what size flowers to put where and how I wanted to do it, and how many or how few. And this is what I ended up with. I am a big fan of odd number of elements. I don't always do that. However, I thought about putting a small one here, but then I just can't not see the fact that that's kind of at the backside of the chameleon, and I don't really want something coming out of the backside of the chameleon. So I chose not to put one there. I like the element of visual triangles. You'll see me do that quite a bit. And so that's how I ended up deciding. So it took me almost as long to decide as to stitch, although there was a good amount of stitching in those. This is 18 count Barely Lime. It is a fabric flare from Dovestitch. And so I definitely think it can be a kind of rectangle look. I don't know. I thought it'd be fun to make it into kind of like an ornament or an hanging sort of piece. Either what I could do is I could make it as such so that you could hang if you wanted it to, or you could tuck the hanger behind and have it be a leaner. Thank you everybody who gave me suggestions. We ended up with Carmen the Chameleon, to kind of do a play off of Karma Chameleon, which is a song by Culture Club. So this is Carmen the Chameleon. And it's finished. Yay! So now that goes in the to fully finished pile. I have quite a pile of to fully finish, and I keep saying I'm going to take a day and just finish. but I like stitching so much that I don't want to give up that time. Let me take a break for a minute here and show you my piece that I've got here today. This is a Barbara Anna. I think it's called Blue Dreams. And I have it in the scrapbook next to my Sailing Dreams. And I just love it. And again, this is a very simple finish. It is the stitched piece with a cardstock, kind of matted cardstock, and then one piece of patterned paper, and that's it. That's all there is. And this was part of a pack from, I believe, Michael's, and it had all sorts of really fun, different variations of colors in there. And I just thought that would be really nice to kind of illustrate the ocean all the way up to the sun, kind of sunset, sunrises. All right, this next piece is a restart. So I didn't have any official starts. I took this out of the rotation and then decided that I really liked it. So I wanted to start it again, but start it slightly differently. So this is a series called Slightly Spooky from Little Robin Designs. And I had started this piece and I had started it as charted, but the fabric that I chose, which I really do like, and I did keep, the orange, you could sort of see the pumpkins, but do you see how these little guys, the ghosts, they were just blobs. The orange was not matching well with the purple that I had chosen. However, I had done a little bit like underneath of this words. I think I had done the black part, and that popped so crisply that I said, no, I'm going to restart this. You can see I cut off that piece and just threw it out, and restarted it with all black. And the tag's gonna be the tag. It's popping up. That's what it looks like. Isn't that pretty? This fabric, it's an 18 count. It's from To Die For Fabrics, but it is one of those, at one point, the summer before she took her sabbatical from hand dyeing fabrics, she had done a bunch of just fun play days where she just hand dyed stuff. And so they had no names, they were not being replicated, and you would just find them on her Etsy shop. And this was one of them, and it is just a beautiful, beautiful purple with just little hints of possible blues. So look at how well that pops. I just love it so much. So I'm really pleased that I made the decision to change it. I know I had gotten suggestions to maybe backstitch the orange, and in the end I decided I just wanted something that didn't need all that extra help. And look at, you can see the ghost really nice and the colors just pop. So I think I got a really good restart on this. Not 100% where I was, but pretty darn close. So I'm pleased. And it's not a huge pattern. I don't have the actual measurements here, but you know, I'm already at the edge, right? And this is halfway through. The words is halfway through. So it won't take me huge amounts of time. Am I going to push myself to get it finished by Halloween? No. If it gets finished by Halloween, great. If it doesn't, no worries. Okay, so this next piece, I have 2 more to do. This was my regular, it worked out really well. This was my regular rotational piece, the piece where I rotate and get 500 stitches on. And it coincided with Jenna, the red-headed stitcher, right? Jenna, sorry if I'm getting that wrong. I'll link her down below. She was inviting all of us, I believe on Tuesday was her birthday, to stitch on one of the Leela Studios Quakers. Well, you know I have 2 going, and this one happened to be this week's rotation, so how perfect was that? And I stitched on it to celebrate her birthday, and I did get my 500 stitches in, so yay. I did put this one on the board because it's getting hard to hold it. So here it is as a whole. This is 18 count Nantucket Sky from Fabrics by Stephanie. If you have not been with me for a while, you would not know this, but Nantucket Sky is a favorite blue for me, especially for outdoor scenes. The entire outer edge is done. All of the Quakers, there's nothing I've forgotten, no eyeballs of any of the animals or anything like that. I did a thorough search. In Spring Quaker, there are a few things that need to be fixed in the outer edge, but not on this one. So if you come on up, that means I'm concentrating on the center piece, which is a huge amount of stitching still because from here down is all full coverage. Now, the last few times I had worked on it, I concentrated on the whale and the water and maybe the ship, I think. This time around, I decided to go over in this area. I've gotten the paper version of this. So there's a page break here, and then right here, there's 4 page breaks. So it's a little bit challenging at times, and so I kept putting this off. But this week I said, you know what? I want to get some of that kind of fun villagey house and trees in. So I did. And I ended up finishing, well, this whole tree I got done. This house needed some filling in. This entire house was stitched. I got some more of the bottom here, and then I concentrated, I got some of that tree, and this is the edge of another house. So at this point, let me look at the pattern for a second. So we have these two houses right here. I have one small one and another tree here, and this top section will be done. So I may continue with that then, and get that part finished, and, you know, then start working my way down here. I am choosing to change out the mermaid. I have nothing against mermaids. The look of this one's not my favorite, and I did see, I hadn't thought about it, but then I saw, sorry about that English-wise, my friend Donna stitch it. And if you go to Floss and Flame in Dover, Delaware, it's actually hanging up as a model stitch. And you can see she chose a sea turtle from La Selva Designs. And I ordered that one. And I believe I have another sea turtle that I got from somewhere else. And I'm going to make a decision. One of the two of them I'm going to stitch there instead of the mermaid. I believe, okay, I might be making this up, Angie, but Angie from the 1823 stitchers, I thought she was stitching this, and I thought she was going to do some more whales in that bottom area instead of the mermaid. I might be completely making that up. I'm going to link 1823. Very happy birthday to both you, Angie and Sally, because your birthday, this is your birthday week, right? So let me write down Angie, so I know to put that down. I'm almost sure that's what she said in her last video, but I could be making it up. Anyway, so that will be, I think once I finish this, I want to figure out orientation. And before I do too much down here, I might do this whole top part just to get the land done. But I want to stitch that. And then if I have to move any of the fish around a little bit, I will. But that's the plan. And I want to kind of have an idea of where that stands. So let me put this in here. Alrighty, and the very last piece I stitched, I know I have this as paper. I forgot to take out the paper pattern. Hold on one second. Let me find that. Here it is. I do have all of my stitching in a specific folder, pictures of every start of every project in a folder. So if I didn't have it, I could have found it on my iPad. But this is Arabesque from Jan Hicks Creates. And you are going to see a lot of that because I have decided to make this one my, I'm going to say world football / soccer stitch. I feel like, you know, the US is really the only place that calls it soccer. So I really feel like I need to acknowledge the fact that we are an international community, and I want to embrace what all of you call it as well. And we watch the English, it's English Premier League football. So, I mean, we hear that term all the time. They never call it soccer. So if you hear me say like English football or world football, that is meaning soccer. So I had talked to you about how I have seen people talking about it's gridiron something. I was watching Jessie Marie, is her Flosstube Jessie Marie Dove stuff? I think it is. She's the Whipgo. She's her Whipgo famous. She's the one that started Whipgo. And she's going to do a gridiron. What did she call it? Now, she did not come up with it. And I want to say hers is going to be a bit more elaborate. I think I do want to do one of those, but I'm going to do it very more basic. That doesn't sound right, English. Much more basic. There we go. I might take the points. I'm going to go with Clemson, which is where I got my my degree from. And I think just whatever they score times 10. I don't have a project for that yet. But my Aston Villa project is Arabesque. So see, we went with a couple things here. One, A, Aston Villa Arabesque. And two, I'm actually stitching it in floss that is very, very close. Aston Villa's colors are they're claret and blue, which is really funny because other places are also claret and blue, but Villa is one of them. And so I'm using kind of that claret sort of color. And so I thought, well, that'll be my perfect kind of football stitch. And this is what it looks like. So what I am doing, thank you so much for all of you who gave me suggestions of what I wanted or what I was going to do for the challenge. First, I'll probably, when we watch it, and we don't always watch them live because it's on the weekends and we have things going on. Like a Sunday morning, we're not giving up our bowls on the beach until you can't do that anymore. So if they play early Sunday morning, we'll have to watch it afterwards. But I will, when I'm watching it, stitch it. And sometimes that might be just enough stitches. It was this week. But Amanda the Stitching Panda is also doing, and I think Amanda is doing Leicester City, if I remember correctly. I was watching, she showed me which video, I think it's video number 4, where she talked about it. And she talked about what all her points in this, that are going to be. And I took a lot of that. Thank you, Amanda, for that inspiration. And I used quite a few. And then thank you to all of you who gave me suggestions. So for this challenge, when Villa plays, 100 stitches on this piece if they win, 75 if they draw, which is always very much a possibility, 50 if they lose. For every goal that they get would be 50 stitches each. I mean, there's not a lot of scoring. I mean, you can have your high scoring 7-8 goal game, but not very often, right? For a clean sheet, 50 points. That means, for those of you who don't follow, a clean sheet means the other team didn't score. Yellow cards, I am going to do. Somebody had talked about the yellow and red cards, and yes, I am going to do them. And yellow cards, 25 each, just what Villa earns, not what the other team earns. And then if there's any red cards, and yes, sadly, there was a red card this week, 50 stitches. So if I go back to my stitch, Villa tied Newcastle, which was a bummer. We were hoping for a win there. So 75 for a draw. They did have a clean sheet because it was 0-0. So that was 50 more stitches. There was 1 yellow and 1 red. So 25 and 50. So I needed 200 stitches. I stitched it while watching it. And I believe I got, oh, I forgot to write down. I believe I got 300 while I was watching. Let me see. I don't have to look up and watch everything, unlike Mo. Let me see. So I can listen, and then when either Mo goes, oh, or the broadcasters do, I look up and I see. And there's always replays. So let me see. Arabesque, I got 312 stitches, which is just extra stitches, which is gravy. I am using a Stitchy Stuff Co. fabric. I believe it's called floss. It's called Elven Wine. My fabric is unknown. It's 18 count. But I don't know. I suspect it might be dying for cross stitch. It feels kind of like Kathy's fabric, but there was no tag, so I do not know. And I concentrated this time around on the letters. I do have this as a paper pattern, and there are page breaks. So I'm skipping, let me fold this over a little bit. I'm skipping this area a little bit because I believe there's a page break. But I did do the H and the L. That might have been the 300 stitches right there. I think it was. So isn't that funny? You look at that and you say, how in the world is that 300 stitches? But it is. And so this one will come out. Villa are playing Brentford tomorrow morning. Fingers crossed that that is a win. And like I said, I don't know schedule-wise if we'll be watching it live or not. But whatever happens, then I will do the stitches. Now Villa is also in Europe. They're not in the Champions League. It's either Europa or Europa Conference. I can't keep track of them. I'm not that, Mo would know, but I'm not that close a follower. I get the stuff confused sometimes. So they will be playing extra games when that starts, as well as then FA Cup and whatever the other one is. So there will be extra games besides just their regular. There's a 39 game right? 39 game season, because there's 20 teams. They play everybody twice, 38 game season, right? Because obviously so you've got the 38 games plus everything else. So that could easily, my goal is to get a finish for that by the end of the season, whereby hopefully Villa are still in the top 7 / 8. I don't know what it'll be. So you will see that one quite a bit, but I'm excited to get that one moving along. I am stitching that with Beth, the Steadfast Stitcher, and Paula stitching in high heels. And what's really awesome is that all 3 of us, those are those I know about. I know there's other people as well, but the 3 of us are stitching it completely different colors, different type of scheme, whatever. So it's really neat. Again, it lends itself to totally doing whatever you want, and that's really kind of cool. So what are my plans? So continuing the challenges of Whip into Shape. So we are at the 22nd. So I still have almost all of last week to do, as well as what's coming up. So I will continue with that one. I will do my football stitch. Sorry. It will be soccer / football stitch probably forever, because that's just the way my brain works. But and then for Whip Warriors, this weekend is the Strident Sal, which basically you take a stitch along piece and you work on it. I was thinking of pulling out Cinderella because I didn't get a lot at the beginning of the month on that for the focus event. We'll see if that happens, but that would be a goal. And then of course we have pumpkin stitching and Christmas stitching. I am currently thinking about the fabrics I want to do for my September pieces. I talked about what those were last week, and I'm sure there will be more, especially with owls. There might be at least one owl start as well. So lots of different kind of fun, exciting stuff going on plan-wise, along with just some ongoing stitching. So you will see Arabesque for quite some time, hopefully until a finish. And then, oh, you know what? Sometimes there's weeks where they have nothing. They have international breaks. So you might not see it every week. And then Sawin at least through the end of this month. And then we'll see what happens with that one. All right. Shopping. What do I have for shopping? I have a couple things to talk to you about. The very first one is I got my fabric of the month from Fabrics by Stephanie. If you do not want to see it, please look away. It is called Calypso, and I get the 18 count. When she first did a fabric of the month, she wasn't able to get 18 count on a regular basis, and so she didn't have that one as her fabric. And I was devastated because I love Stephanie's fabrics. In fact, I usually treat myself every year around my birthday with an order, but I've forgotten that. We'll have to see. She does take probably 8 to 10 to 12 weeks for custom orders type of thing, but her fabrics are phenomenal. All right, look away if you don't want to see. This is what it looks like. So much fun. Isn't that beautiful? So that's Calypso. The fabric of the month with Stephanie is she sometimes uses, I think, brand new colors or just colors for that. But she also very often uses things that are within her line already, which I absolutely love because some of them, if I have them, that means I like them and I'm glad she's sending it. Or they're colors that I haven't tried and such a great way to try them. So I really love that fabric of the month. I did get the notice from Bestitchme that my fabric of the month was shipped, I believe, but I don't know where it is at the moment. So hopefully by next Friday, we will have that to show you. I'm curious to see what Brandy has decided for the August fabric of the month. The other thing I have to show you is I'd like to highlight Paddock Lane Designs. Lisa is an Australian designer, as well as fabric dyer, as well as shop entrepreneur. She is able to have different things hand cut and made, and it really is amazing. If you watch Lisa's, let me write down Paddock Lane. If you watch Lisa's videos, especially her Paddock Lane updates, she talks about with the shop some of the new things she's getting in, and she's always thinking about different things that might be fun additions and extras or things to help you with your stitching. So I would highly recommend. So Lisa has a Patreon, and I want to show you some of the items in the Patreon, as well as she sent me a couple of her market releases. So that's a lot of fun. I do want to show you those as well. She has different options for her fabric of the month. And if you watch Peggy, oh, I love Peggy. Peggy's Still Stitching Peggy does quite a few projects on Lisa's fabric, so you will see a huge range of stitching on Lisa's fabrics. This one here was a July fabric of the month, but the fabric of the month, I believe, has a couple different options. I believe there might be, I'm not even going to say, there's either 2 or 3 options. I do not want to misspeak on that. So watch and go look at Paddock Lane for her options with that, because I don't want to misspeak. This one was a July, and it's called Dumbo. Isn't that pretty? Oh, that's so, so pretty. I love that. Really, really nice. Then there's 2 different ones that she has shown here for August. So let me show you those. Lisa is an Australian company, but so I don't know how things are going to work at the end of this month. Please take that into account. But she is a lovely person. This one is called Medina, and her fabrics are, her aida are good, and they're soft but sturdy, which is just the perfect combo. Isn't that pretty? That's called Medina. And this was one of the August 2025 fabric of the month. It is variegated, but not that heavy. It is definitely a light and a dark. And then this one, such a pretty color for summer, is called Lemonade. So let me show you that one. And it is a very beautiful yellow. So many things would look not good on that. Oh, and if you could do some sort of, if you wanted a really dramatic, do like black and the yellow, you could get a really nice, like, monochromatic piece on that. So those are the fabrics to show you. And again, oh, I love the feel of her aida. This is, she also had sent, she does floss drops, and I believe they're in different colors as well. So you have different options and colors of floss drops that you can buy that are, how are they? I don't know how things are made. Is it 3D printers or laser? I don't know all the technology with that, but this is one of the options that I know she makes. I'm almost sure she does the winders as well. You know, there you can wind your thread to cut it a certain length. And then she sent me a couple of her market releases. And so I thought how fun to show you. This one right here is called Nativity. And isn't that just a lovely nativity scene? When I got married, we had, one of our guests was a pastor and his wife. And they had gotten for our wedding present, if anybody, okay, I'm dating myself. Do you remember G Fox? And remember the Lennox? And I think you can still get the Lennox figurines. I guess now it's Macy's, right? G Fox became Macy's. And I'm sure there are other places you could get it. Well, they got me in the kind of Lennox figurine sort of things, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. And over the years, as I would collect in our first, I'd probably say first 10 years of marriage, after a while, I had no room for anything else. And I think I had gotten pretty much what I wanted to create a scene. I ended up getting like the wise men. I got, I think, a drummer boy, a shepherd. There's a little girl with fruit. I got the creche. So I have a whole scene that I put out at Christmas now. And I can think of Father Jim, God rest him, when I put it out. But just so fun. But that's fun, Lisa, because you didn't even know that of me, but that will make me think of that. And there's only 2 colors in this. You see there's the star up here and then the actual. So you could really, wouldn't this be lovely on a dark kind of, you'd have to be careful. If you straddled the line with a deeper, darker fabric, this to make sure it pops, and then to make sure the stars pop, but that would be beautiful. And an opal, if you didn't want to stitch the stars and make it monochromatic, choose an opal. Oh, that would be gorgeous. And then, and there's, you know, so just the 2 colors in that one. This one, there's 1, 2, 3, 5 colors. So again, kind of, really kind of fun and not stressful to do if you're one like me who definitely likes pieces sometimes without the color changes. This is called Winter Farm, and it is from Paddock Lane Designs. 5 colors, all DMC. Both of them are charted in DMC. And what I really like about Lisa's charts, and I'm going to show you, she gives you so much information. So she tells you the DMC, she tells you the name of it, the length of skeins that you would need, and the actual number of stitches in each color, which I think is always so helpful as well. And then, of course, she gives you all of the information between from 14, 16, 18, 20, 25, 36 count of what the sizes would be in both centimeters and inches, and what the stitch count is. This is the second design in a trio. The first is called Winter Windmill and is available from Paddock Lane. So isn't that pretty? I have, many of you know that last year, if you followed me since last year, Mo and I in September went up to the Woodstock Sanctuary Farm. I'm a vegan, and I very much care for all animals. And because I got a membership to the sanctuary so that, you know, we can support their rescue of animals. I have like it's a little pig that has a heart on it. And it'd be so neat to stitch this and then have that little pin somewhere with it, just to, for me personally, and this is just me. I don't judge anybody else's choices, but to celebrate the animals and kind of put that celebration together. That'd be kind of neat. I have a large project that I would like to do at some point that celebrate the animals a bit more, but that means a lot of extra charting, and I'm not sure what I'm doing with that. But Lisa, those are some beautiful designs and beautiful fabrics, and I hope you have a fantastic marketplace this weekend. Thank you for your friendship, and your work is beautiful. Alrighty, so that is it for shopping, and let's just talk about life. So if you don't want to hear about anything like that, then thank you so much for being here. It's quick. Not a lot going on, so I will try to get you in and out fairly quickly. We survived, luckily, thank you. Hurricane Erin, who was a humongous hurricane, did not come any closer to land and went out to sea. This week has been, I felt bad for anybody who maybe took their vacation this week, because almost every day, there was a couple days where I think the lifeguards would let people get up to maybe their waist, but yesterday was apparently a double red flag. I don't even know. I mean, talk about, usually red flag means you can't go in the water because of rip currents, rip tides. I don't know how bad double red means, but we got incredible kind of rip currents and tides at the ocean. I think that was probably the most dangerous thing. There were pictures in some areas I'm down in southern Delaware by the beaches, and if you go a little bit south from me, some of the areas are, because it gets very narrow in Delaware, and you've got the ocean on one side and the bay on the other side, and flooding definitely happens. And I know there were some areas that were flooded. There might have been some beach erosion. We had some pretty gusty winds yesterday. Yesterday was the height of it, and it's been kind of rainy, warm-ish, but rainy. Yesterday the waves were supposed to be at their height, and it was yesterday afternoon, but you know, we couldn't get down there then. So Mo and I yesterday morning got up and went, it was probably about 8 o'clock. We went down to the beach area. We live about 10 minutes from the beach when traffic is flowing nicely. And we went onto the beach just to check it out. It's always, when the storms come, it's amazing. Nature is amazing. The waves were not at their height yet. So the ocean was stormy, and you could see that. And it was gray clouds. It was spitting rain, and the wind. We went onto the beach, and if you looked down to your left, there was somebody doing squats. So, because people like to do like beach workouts in the morning, right? Which, okay, I could see that. On the other side, when you looked right, there was a group of people doing yoga, which, whew, you really had to, between the wind and the rain, and the wind was like whipping up the sand. So like you were getting like sand blasted. I don't know how they did yoga, to be honest with you, but more power to them. We got soaking wet though, because it wasn't raining heavy, but the wind and gusting, and once or twice the water, we weren't going to like feel the water, but the water, you know, how sometimes you get those rogue waves, and it came up. The water was actually quite warm. It was really funny. So we kind of poked our feet in a couple time or two, and the water was really, you know, it was cooler outside, and the water felt really kind of nice and warm. But that was our adventure. Came home, we were soaking wet, you know, kind of thing. Head to toe, all that went into the laundry because that was seawater possibly and everything else. So, but that was my adventure yesterday morning, checking out, and that's as close as I got. Then I came home and I stayed in, and the wind howled, and I just zoomed and stitched and had some fun with my friends. So I had a couple Zooms this week. Thank you so much to everybody who stitched with me. I know I have to host a Zoom, friends. You know what happens is I don't plan ahead of time. So I don't know, and not everybody's on Facebook, because I can say, oh, I'm going to Zoom today or tomorrow, and if anybody wants to join me, here's the info. But I always feel bad because, you know, not everybody uses social media, and that's fine if you don't. I don't go on TikTok. I refuse to get sucked into anything else. So I get it. I want to find a way that, you know, if I just off the cuff want to do a Zoom, if there's a way that I can just say, hey, because I need to plan a couple. I just never 100% know schedule wise what's going on. But I did have a couple of Zooms, and, you know, if you've got some time, and you think at some point you want to Zoom with me, then let me know and I'll see what my schedule is. I had physical therapy this week. It went pretty well. We're honing in on the problems and trying to come up with a solution and a plan. So I keep plugging at it, and that's all I can do. And one day my goal is to walk without pain. So fingers crossed. Other than that, not a lot going on. Mo's got his pickleball. It's supposed to be beautiful this weekend, so I would be shocked if he didn't play this weekend. The next 3 days are supposed to be 80 with like low temperatures in the 50s. I walked out this morning. I just had breakfast in we have like a screened three-season porch. Yes, it's got windows, but it's not, you can't make it 4 seasons. It's freezing in the winter. And I sat out there, I walked out, and I was like, there was zero humidity. It was 72 showing in the room. Oh, it was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So we're going to have a little stretch of beautiful weather right now. I am listening to my mystery book right now, so nothing new there. I did get from the library, and I can't remember what it's called now, my next mystery book, my book club mystery book that I need to read. And it looks short. I think it's like 250 pages. So I think I can get that out. So once I read it, I'll let you know what I think. And yeah, TV's just been, I'm barely keeping up I'm not keeping up with Flosstubes, never mind watching. I have so many shows on the queue that I would like to watch, and I'm just not getting to it. So nothing fun to talk about there either. So I guess that's about it. I hope you're well. I hope you are safe. For those of you who might still be in the path of Aaron, I hope there is no flooding, and I hope everything is okay. My friends, always and always remember that you matter, and you are important, and you are enough and wonderful and beautiful as you are. So please always remember that. Until next time, happy stitching.